I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode. We are ticking down to the end of the year. Can you believe it? It's already mid-December. What the heck? Anyway, I have a fantastic guest today. Very excited to have him here, Russell James Barratt. Uh, I don't know. If you don't know who this man is, then you need to get out from under your rock. I know I've kind of said this about people before, but he just does some amazing textile collage quilting and art pieces that are they just always stop me in my tracks. So I just really loved getting to talk with Russell today about his process and how he got to where he's at. He by day works in fashion retail, and kind of his art hobby work he does, in his off time is working with textiles and repurposing clothing and other items into, kind of art pieces and quilts. And so getting to chat with him about that was really fun, and learning more about his process and kind of what he thinks about when he's looking for, you know, new projects to make, and what that means for him was just so fun. So I hope that you enjoy this episode, and let's dive in. Guess what, quilters? You still have time to get on the bandwagon and get yourself some quilty merch. That's right. Not Your Granny's Quilt Show podcast has a merchandise shop at nygqs.printify.me, and you can get so many cool things. There's some really great t-shirts, tote bags, stickers, sweatshirts, mugs, you name it. There's stuff there. I have designed everything, so no AI there. I have picked only things that I love and know are high quality and can survive being worn millions of times and washed and dried and put through the test. So you can be guaranteed that everything in the shop is high quality, and I don't put anything out that I wouldn't use or that is not worth it. So anyway, head to the shop and check it out and get yourself some Not Your Granny's Quilt Show merch today. Hi, Russell. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, Amanda. How you doing?
Hello. I'm good. I'm so good. I'm so happy that we're doing this. I have followed your work for a little while and honestly been kind of intimidated because of just how extraordinary your work is and how incredible it is. So this is just so fun to talk to you, and I'm excited to get to know more about you.
Oh, well, I mean, thanks for asking. As I said, it's always lovely when people are interested in my work, and I'm still kind of um, learning how to talk about it.
Mm,
I do a lot of talks with various quilt groups,
mm.
so I have a sort of little set script, but um, it's always good experience for me to sort of learn to explain it. So thanks for
Yeah.
asking.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you for being here. And um, so if people don't know, you are Russell James. Do you say Barrett?
Barratt, yes.
Barrett. Okay. I
Barratt.
just, yeah, yeah. I like to ask because I'm like, I don't want to say it wrong and then be like,
Well, do you
wait.
know, lots of people call me like Russell James Barratt, but I only had to use my middle name for the Instagram handle.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the bit that you can miss out. But I'm not bothered either way. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, so if people want to find you online, that's how they're going to do it,
yes, that's the important
essentially.
bit.
So, yeah. So if you don't know Russell yet, go find him, Russell James Barratt, Barratt. And your work is just so cool. But before we dive into where you are now, I want to know how you even got into sewing and quilting in the first place.
Yes, I mean, I'll sort of give you the slightly shortened version, but um, it's always been in my family sewing.
Mm,
My mother and my grandmother were both sewers and made clothes and items semi-professionally, small
mm,
business sort of stuff.
mhm.
So it's sort of in my blood, really. But I also think a couple of generations ago, a lot more people did so anyway. So
Yeah.
I keep that in mind. But yeah, my mom had a knitting business when I was little, and she
Mm,
made clothes for us. She made her own clothes. So I was always interested in the shapes of pattern pieces and the smell of wool, and it's very kind of what's the word? Is it visceral? Like it's
yeah,
very. I love all those things about sewing and fabrics and everything.
yeah.
The smell of the oil on the machine and little things like that. Um, so yeah, we were always around making. If my mom would decide to recover the sofa, she would set about doing it and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was always the thing, and having clothes made for us, not just buying things.
Mhm.
Was kind of important and sort of formative for me. And as I sort of hit my teens, um, I was asking, "Oh, show me how to use this. Show me how to use the machine." And I'm still not very good at machines, to be honest, but that's maybe a story for later. Um, but yeah, so I started customizing my own clothes. I've always been interested in buying secondhand stuff anyway, so I would sort
Mhm.
of size it down or cut things up and sew them together. Um, and I really just did that for years. And occasionally people would ask me to make things. A lot of my work was a lot of my hobby then was customizing rather than fully making. Although I knew how to cut patterns and stuff, and
Mhm.
off a made pattern. And years later, I studied pattern cutting for a year or so
Mhm.
as well. But yeah, when I sort of moved out and was a student and a bit older, I started making things for other people. And occasionally, those random moments of people asking you in the street, like, "Oh, where are your jeans from?" And I'd be like,
Mm.
"Well, actually." So there's a few nice experiences like that. 'Cause it's always flattering when people like go, "Well,
Yeah.
actually, it's me made." Actually, love it.
Yeah.
Um, and that progressed, and I always sort of had other jobs around it in retail and various things. Um, and I moved to London. I grew up in Scotland, so I'm from
Okay.
Edinburgh. I moved to London about 20 years ago now. It's been a while. About 20 years this year. Um, and I got very involved with nightlife and clubs
Mm.
and making quite elaborate costumes. Um, and that progressed into, again, making things for other people, making things for photo shoots, working with small designers. And my skill set that I really rely on now is not necessarily like precision, but having ideas and
Yeah.
bringing to be like, "Oh, this random thing, what can I do with this? Can it be a hat? Can it be I don't know, gloves or whatever else?"
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
which works really well for photo shoots, but isn't always functional.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where I sort of got a small I was part of teams. I was going to say team around me, but I was parts of other people's teams of stylists, of other makers. So I was handy with a needle. Um, and then eventually, I mean, that went on for a good few years, but
Mhm.
eventually I got tired of the nightlife aspect of it and realized that I really just enjoyed the actual making and the getting ready and the putting an outfit together and the makeup and whatever
Yeah.
else. Um, and so I stopped doing all that, but only started accepting commissions for work for photo shoots or for designers.
Okay.
And in that period, I'd studied pattern cutting as well, so I was able to take usually scrap fabric and make things from it.
Mhm.
Um, and also in amongst that, having no money is obviously a hindrance, but it helps in some way because it breeds creativity. Um,
Yeah.
and that's essentially where I'm still at. That everything I use, I've sort of doubled down on it now. Everything I use is secondhand.
Mm.
Um, or sort of remnants of stuff. And
Mhm.
um, so eventually, do you know what happened? I mean, again, the short story, I was in a basement flat and we had a flood. And so there was a
Oh.
big change in my life where me and my flatmate at the time had to live in temporary accommodation for, I think it was a couple of years now, but lots of stuff was ruined and had to be thrown out. Lots of stuff went into storage. We were literally with just what we could carry.
Mhm.
And I was living in a hotel for um, I don't know, a few months it was at the time. And I always imagined that'd be quite a cool thing to do, but it's actually really boring because particularly if you're on your own, like he was in a separate room. I'd go to work, come home in a hotel every day, not be able to cook food, which just drove me up the
Yeah.
wall. You'd think
Right.
getting takeaways would be fabulous, but it's kind of not. I just want to
It's
like
not.
boil an egg or something, something just
Right.
simple.
Yeah.
So I'd sit there and I bought myself a couple of t-shirts and shirts in a secondhand shop, and I just started cutting dots out and sewing them onto things for something to do, kind of. And I've always loved dots, but
Yeah.
that was the kind of start of my real love for dots and
Mhm.
applicating them. And so I was doing it to my own clothes. And then over time, when we eventually got into a new place to properly live, we got some stuff back, and I was just like, oh, I'm kind of done with making clothes for other people. I sort of fell out of love with it.
Yeah.
Um, because it's hard. It's
Mhm.
difficult a lot of the time, and trying to juggle people's ideas of what they want and what you want to do,
Right.
and also not always being paid that much for it, and thinking like I'm staying up all night doing this and I'm getting very little money for it.
Yeah.
So I really just started displaying some vintage clothes that had come out of storage in my house to look at them, because I still loved them, although I wasn't necessarily wearing them. And I
Mhm.
started putting fabrics behind it, and that developed into pinning it and then to sewing it. Um, and I guess at some point I didn't know really what quilts were. There's no quilting history in my family.
Oh,
In
okay.
fact, my mother and I both made our first quilts around about the same time. Um, and we're both really interested in textiles, as I said, but we both sort of came to it at the same time.
Mhm.
Um, and so these developed into little textile collages, which
Yeah.
is essentially what I still do.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, are they blankets? Are they wall hangings? I don't know what it is. And then eventually, just really through Instagram and social media, I was Googling like how to do stuff and looking what other people were posting on social media,
Mhm.
and then learning like, oh, they're quilts. It's called quilts. Like that's the proper term. And then, oh, it's improv quilting. Okay, it's kind of improv what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
And slowly developed. I'm still not very good with it, to be honest, but all the sort of jargony terms.
Mhm.
um, I've been in meetings about various quilting projects and had to secretly Google, like, what does
Like
that mean?
off
I'm
to the side, like
terrible. Yeah, yeah,
fiercely
totally.
typing. Yeah, yeah.
And as much as I love it and I'm really into it, and I love seeing any sort of quilting,
Yeah.
I'm not really part of the quilting world. I don't have that background. So
Yeah.
sometimes I struggle when people are like, oh, this latest collection from so and so, so and so, and all these fabrics. And I'm like, I don't know these words. I'm so sorry. Like,
Yeah.
awkward. Um, but even that said, as I've been doing teaching in person, and I see I mean, most of my classes are about sustainability and reusing
Yeah.
clothes and stuff, but people
Yeah.
bring stashes of fabrics they've got. And I'm like, oh, the luxury of all these like new gorgeous different prints and stuff. So I would use bits of it, but I mean, fundamentally, I don't want to get into the habit of just buying that.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
so I've gone off a bit, but that's kind of how I got into quilting specifically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was a long journey, but so I've been
Yeah.
quilting for, um, I mean, about a decade, maybe slightly less than that,
Yeah.
on and off. And it started very kind of haphazardly, but then a familiar story for a lot of us, but round about all the COVID lockdowns,
Mhm.
I began to treat it like a job. Like I would be like, check in the morning, I'm going to make quilts, properly Googling how to do a corner and mitered edge and all these kind of things.
Sure.
Um, Even though if you asked me, I probably couldn't tell you. But actually learning how to properly do it. And then in that time, because we all had time on our hands and we're looking at social media, I got a lot of cool people following me and saying, well, I like your work, and
Yeah.
sort of building an interest in it. And again, I found all these different like hashtags and different people, and being like, that's the work I want to make, because I didn't know what I was doing really. I was just doing what
Right.
felt good.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful when you get a sort of corroboration to be like, oh, there is a place for it, there is other people that do similar work,
Yeah.
and to also borrow ideas, dare I
Mhm.
say steal, but and you build it into your own sort of skill set of what you do,
Right.
and it pushes you to think like, um there's a thing with, well, with any creative work, that sometimes you find yourself, um maybe being not being stuck, but maybe in a situation where you're making work that you think other people will like, or
Right.
you or think you work that you think you should be doing. And then sometimes I've looked at much older work of mine, my question I often ask is, would I buy that? Would I be like, would I turn a corner in a gallery or a show and be like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
a light bulb goes off, like I love it.
Yeah.
and that for me is what I come back to when I'm making work. Like, is this the burn? Is this like, yes, I'm excited by this? Because if
Yeah.
I'm not, then there's no point.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking to other quilters, I realize that that's actually a skill in itself, because some people are like, oh, I'm scared to try something weird or something that's not written down in a pattern, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and in some ways I don't really suffer for that, because I've sort of grown up in my own little, petri dish. So I don't have a worry really about, is it right? Except when I'm putting things into competitions, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really, I think like, well, do I like it? First of all, it doesn't matter actually what it is, so to speak.
Yeah.
And even something I've worked through recently in my head, not in a dramatic trauma kind of way, but I just lost my train of thought there. That's so bad.
Oh.
Yeah, what I've worked through recently is to realize that I obviously like what I make. I like the end
Yeah.
result. I'm happy
Hmm.
to show people. But the thing is the making for me. That's the main thing about it. That it's almost
Cool.
like like a meditation, like I'm stepping outside of myself. It's my quiet time. It's me
Yeah.
um pouring it into this quilt. And not that I would ever like, toss the quilt away at the end and be like, oh, that doesn't matter. I am proud of it, but the most important thing is the doing of it, and all the decisions that we make about color, texture, all these things. That's my main sort of burn with it. That's my main passion. And it's just nice that other people, well, some people like what I make as well. So, you know, um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
journey.
It truly is. And um I think I loved what you said about like asking yourself, checking yourself. Would you
Mm.
stand like if you saw that somewhere else and it wasn't from you or by you, would you be in love with it? Would you want it?
Mm.
And I think that can be such a trap in the making world. It's like, oh, so and so's making this stuff, so I gotta follow in their footsteps, or I've got to keep up with so
Yes,
and so, and that can be a drawback of living in the social media world as a
yes,
reference for what you're making, and I fell into it too initially. I mean, I found it's funny that you said like you and your mom kind of started making your quilting, you started quilting at the same time, and it wasn't really
yeah,
in your family, because that's how my mom and I were too.
right,
She's
yeah,
sewn, she's done everything. And she's made blankets and sort of quilts ish, but like quilting as as a thing was not really a
yeah,
thing. And then her friend got her into it about a year before I got into it. And so um but I think having grown up around all the things, the sewing machines and needles and different types of sewing, and same thing, my mom
yes. You're already
didn't like
familiar with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
she didn't like a chair, she recovered it. I wanted
yeah,
a formal dress for a dance at school, she made it for me.
yeah.
It's like I needed new curtains, she made me new curtains. Is that kind of stuff. So, and she would do little things here and there for people. She kind of did a little side business of alterations and things for people, but um,
Well, because when people find you have a sewing skill, any sort of level, they're like,
right.
"Oh my god, make my wedding dress," and you're like, "Whoa,
You're
whoa,
like,
calm down."
first of all, I don't think so. I
Yeah,
mean, maybe, but do you have the money it's going to take to pay
yes,
for the materials
exactly.
and for my time? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I love that. But I do think that kind of stepping back and going, do I love what I'm doing? Why
Mm.
am I even doing it? Is it for the experience to push my skills or to try something that's tickling my brain or giving me excitement and joy? Kind of chasing that feeling, like you're saying, that kind of
Yes,
meditation, that
that's it. Chasing the feeling, because you're
yeah,
like,
being
ah,
within
perfect.
yourself. Yeah, and like, "Oh, look what I just did." And I think experiencing quilting and making through social media it's like stepping into a gallery of anything you could think of without even really having to think about what you're looking for necessarily.
Yes.
There's an exploration to it, and I think using that as information is fine, it's yeah, big borrow and steal, is that what it's called? I don't know, like,
Yeah, no, it is, because equally, I mean, as you say that you can't, you don't want to sort of labor away constantly under somebody else's rules that you're not comfortable with. But
Right.
equally, and I sometimes have to come off social media when I'm at a certain point of the development of a
Yeah.
quilt, because I don't want to just not comic, that's not the word, copy
Yeah.
somebody else's work. And
Hmm.
as much as I've spoken to various people in the past about um borrowing stuff, stealing
Sure.
little bits like how to do a stitch or like knots
Sure.
or
Hmm.
compositions or whatever, but you're distilling that down to try and make it something fresh and more you,
Right.
to bring it out of you, not just impose something else on top of you. And that's
Right.
what I'm sort of passionate about,
Yeah.
because I think when people sometimes are stuck with finding what is their style or their um, uh, look of what they want to
Yeah.
make,
Hmm.
it's quite easy to copy somebody else if you've already got sewing skills, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I
Yeah.
find that quite interesting because it's, again, that's a process in itself,
Yeah.
developing your artistic thumbprint, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
truly. And it's one thing to buy a pattern and get a kit that was curated by
Mm.
someone else and make that thing. It's like, okay, you've reproduced someone else's version. And that's okay. Maybe you see it and it really resonates. You love the
Yeah.
colors, you love everything about it. That's awesome. Good for you. But then there's something else entirely when you can see something and go, hmm, I bet I could take this part of it and incorporate
Mhm.
it into what I'm trying to do right now and
Yeah.
twisting it in a way that makes it unique to you. I mean, there's inspiration everywhere, right? Like
That's it.
there's
Changing the colors of a pattern, or
yeah,
as you say, like combining them. That's when the real like skill jumps up a notch,
right,
because you're actually, it's like you've what's the word, assimilated with that level, so you
right,
can go, actually, now I can move on. And and,
right.
and I must say, because I'm paranoid with all my opinions about, I don't want to upset anybody, because I love everybody's work, and I think,
Sure.
if you're putting the effort into a quilt, particularly a full size quilt,
Right,
good for you. I love it.
right,
I'm really into that. And also, um the funny thing with quilting, well, with everything in life, but you can get inspiration from the funniest moments, and
right,
sometimes it can be a very basic quilt that somebody's made it, but there's something about it, there's a feeling, there's a shape or whatever, that you're like, oh, I'm gonna
hmm,
take a little photograph of that and think about it.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't want anyone to think that I'm being a snob in my own way, even though I'm sort of an outsider already. Um,
No,
I love all kind of sewing and stuff, but
right,
yeah, my favorite time and things to look at is when it really feels like only this person could have done that,
right.
in a way,
Mm,
that's
absolutely.
special.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I appreciate too, whether it's a quilt pattern or a piece of art or, another
Mm.
kind of art. Um, if it's like I can look at it and go, "Ooh, I know who made that." And it's the
Yeah.
same with kind of fabric design too, the surface design. I can see
Oh
a
yeah,
collection,
totally.
and
Yeah.
before I even see who posted it or see who designed it, I can take a guess and I'm usually right. I'm usually correct. It, yeah, some people just have really leaned into who they are and what
Mm.
they want to show the world with their art, and the world is better for it, honestly. I think
There's little coincidences sometimes, and
yeah.
during uh after sort of the main COVID times, I got a message from somebody on Instagram, and they said, uh, on the, what's it called, like suggestions page or
Oh,
whatever,
mhm,
um, your work came up, and I knew it was your work before I'd even clicked on it. And I had literally had a conversation with my partner within the days leading up to that, saying
mhm.
like, I'm trying to find my own style and da, 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 da. And I was like, that's what I needed to hear. Somebody said,
Confirmation.
yeah, that is you. And I'm like,
Yeah,
cool. I'm happy with
yeah.
that. So yeah.
It's very vibey, very like, even though every piece is so unique and different, it still has your voice in it, and that's, I think, just
Yeah,
so
I hope so.
special to see, and we know we're getting a piece of you every time you produce something, so I think it's important. I think if somebody can look at your work and know it's yours, that's the goal, right? If
That's
if
nice.
if
Yeah,
people
yeah.
can't tell that it's from you, then it's like I don't know. And people can even shift. You can shift what you're doing, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
still, if it's within who you are and it's coming from you genuinely, it'll still
But,
have the
yeah,
same.
but then the next another layer up from that is then people saying, "Oh, I'm really surprised you've made this," and I'm
Right.
like, because you don't want to just make the same thing over and over again. Well, I don't want to
Right.
make the same thing over again.
Right.
So it's nice to do something that's slightly off center,
Right.
um, and then, as I say, to sort of absorb that and maybe move your whole focus to something else. And not
Yeah.
always. Sometimes it's nice to try something and come back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we don't get bored.
Yeah. Truly. I mean, there's there's so much that can be done with fabric and thread, and so much out there that's already in existence in the world that
Yeah,
is either sitting in a thrift shop or pre-owned shop and just waiting for somebody to take it home, whether as the item of clothing it already is, or the blanket
yeah,
it already is, or if it's just been sitting there, someone like us might see it and go, "Oh, I actually feel like I could make something cool with that." And it's getting new life. It's getting to be put out in the world in a different way and not thrown in the landfill and
yeah.
piled up with all the other textile waste that's out there. And so that,
I like those moments where you feel like, oh, I'm saving this, and it's the world's like turned on its axis slightly because you've chosen to do that. I sort of
right.
feel that's quite special.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it helps us come away from kind of the consumerism aspect of things and go, oh, there's actually so much already out here. I don't need new everything. And although it's fun and can be kind of like, ooh, shiny, the concept of just there's so much out there. There's, men's shirting, which is fabulous for quilting. And,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's
you
so
know,
many good fabrics. But also I've heard I have a feeling about new fabric that I've heard from other sewers that actually have a slight fear of cutting into brand new fabric.
hmm
Because once you cut into it, it's almost like it's ruined. It's not new anymore, and
right.
it's a big commitment in a way. But things that are
hmm
already made, they're already past that moment in their life.
right.
And I thought it was just me, but I've heard many, many other sewers say that there is a little deep breath with new fabric because you sort of know how much money you've spent on it as well, and it's usually quite expensive, and you're
hmm
like, oh God.
Yeah.
But I think that's funny because obviously I have occasionally in my quilting life or creative life used new fabrics,
hmm
although they're not usually that expensive, I have to admit. Um, and it's quite interesting because I'm much more comfortable with using, as you say, clothes or
yeah.
remnants from something,
Right.
and often when I've bought something, um, actually, I was going to say that I use things. It sparks something in me. I have an idea, and sort of run home and use it. But that's a total lie. When you see how much fabric I've got, that's a lie. Take that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
Sometimes that happens.
yeah.
Sometimes, but
Yeah. And you might feel inspired by something and bring it home, and then it's still there, but it's maybe the idea hasn't fully formed yet. So
yes.
you're like, it's there, it's there. And you're like, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with you, but I know it's something like you spoke to me. So I
But,
brought
but
you
but maybe
home.
it has to meet other fabrics that you've already got
Exactly.
to create a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm with you.
that's what we all hope for.
Yeah, I think things speak to us because there's something there for it, but which is woo woo and maybe strange, but that's okay. I don't care. Um,
I
and it
love a
doesn't
bit of that.
it doesn't mean you have to take everything home that speaks to you, but maybe it inspires like, oh, I have things like this that I could make something with. Like it reminds you, almost like sometimes if I'm in the fabric shop looking for things for a job because I don't have maybe all of what I need or whatever, or someone's asked me for something specific, I see things, I'm like, oh yeah, I have something really similar to that. And that would be such a cute whatever, it'd be so great
Yeah,
in this piece or whatever. So I think also being around kind of newer things can also remind you of stuff you already have. So
yeah.
just different, there's so much inspiration everywhere, not just in the quilt shop, but there anywhere. I mean, uh was it last summer? No, in 2022 when I went to Barcelona for the first time. I mean, I've been to Spain, but Barcelona was my first time there. But just
Nice.
seeing
Yeah.
all the like revisiting Spain, first of all, glorious. I love that place. I want to be live the rest of my life and die there. It's fine. But
Nice.
the tiles and the colors and the all the, we went to we went to La Sagrada Familia because obviously you have to when you're in
Amazing.
Barcelona.
Yes. Yeah.
And um stunning, just ripped tears right out of my body. Like I walked in the doors and instantly started sobbing. I'm not even religious, and it was just like
No, you don't have to be.
it
I think
transports you.
haven't they finished that? They finished it now, haven't they? I
I
can't remember. I
think
went years ago when there was still quite a lot to do, but it's
yeah,
just stunning.
it
It's
is.
just the workmanship in it
And
is
how long?
crazy.
I think it was
Yeah.
just the fact that it's not a government funded project. It's not coming from any one
Mhm.
person. It's the people. They've donated,
Mhm.
they've put in the efforts to make sure that it comes to fruition, even though it burned
Mhm.
down and all this stuff, the history of it, and just the immense beauty in all the different styles of architecture and the stained glass and the carvings on the outside of the building.
But
And
everywhere you look, there's something
there's
like,
something,
oh,
even
that's
when you're
the,
up in
that's
the
the.
spires,
Yeah.
like looking down within, like on the sides of all the different um parts of the building, there's like, oh, there's fruit, there's this, it's like all these different things. And so there's just stuff everywhere. And I was like on high alert, overwhelmed, because I was like, you could do so much with this. I mean, Casa Batlio, there was all these different tiles and the,
Yeah.
different textures and curves, and the way that they, Gaudi just transformed that home into something that was just otherworldly. And my husband was like, you want to make quilts, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Obvious.
Yeah, yeah. And it was so funny because I have always loved art gallery fabrics and just the feel of them, and they feel very clothing like too. So they're very drapey
Yeah.
and just have that smooth brushed cotton feel. And I've always loved Caterina Rocella. She's one of their designers. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but
No, not at
um,
all.
well, well, she's a painter, and
Right.
all of her designs are very, artist looking, like more like, because she paints them first and then she digitizes them.
Ah, nice. Okay. Yep.
Anyway, so she just released a collection this year called Barcelona, because she also loves
Nice.
Barcelona. And she asked me to make one of the quilts for her, the lookbook for art gallery. And so out of that fabric, and she's like, do you want this? And I was like, yeah, duh. So
You're like all of it. All
all
of
of it
it.
came together. I
Yes.
was like, I finally get to make a
Oh, I
Spain
love
quilt, and I
that.
finally get to make, and she designed this fabric, and it's these beautiful colors. And then
What's her name? I'm going to look her up.
Caterina
Katerina.
Roccella, Roccella.
All right, I'll look her up.
She's
Super.
one of my favorites. I just love her work, and I talk about her a lot on the show because she's really who inspired me to make new stuff. And I started testing some of her patterns when I was just only a few years into quilting and hadn't really explored beyond squares and half square triangles and
Yeah.
and anyway, so everything kind of came to fruition with that quilt, and I'm so excited about it. But anyway, it's just fun. Like
Nice.
I kind of, just sat on that, and the opportunity came my way. And that's not always how it works, but just kind of like I couldn't have conceived of that as a thing, of how it coming
Yes.
together that way. But that, like, love of Spanish culture and Spanish art and architecture and the colors and stuff came together in just such a cool way. And so anyway, I just was like, I cannot even believe this happened.
Wherever you pour your energy, it
Yeah.
will sometimes the universe like brings it back to you, and I think that's lovely that that's sort of the stars aligned and that thing happened. I think that's
Yeah.
super.
But yeah, anyway, enough about me. No, I'm just kidding. So you have been an Aurifil artisan this year, which I so
Yes.
cool. And I've been watching some of your work as you've used like some of the different Aurifil threads in your work and just some of the different stitching you do to bring texture and color into a piece or add to something that's already there. And I loved recently what you shared, how you did kind of an orange thread around the buttonholes of a shirt that
Oh
already.
yes, that's right in front of me right now.
Oh,
Yes.
I just was like, oh, that is just so smart and clever to kind of highlight these little features of clothing that we don't really think about. It's like such a functional thing, but like how, buttonholes are everywhere and we need them to keep our clothing on our
Exactly. They're
bodies.
quite important.
They're
Yeah.
so important, and how often like a quilter will never use a buttonhole function on their machine
Well, that's
or
it. I mean, the things themselves actually on the fabric will either be cut off or patched over.
right.
And I think, as you say, with the functions on a machine, like as quilters, we don't. Well, I suppose lots of quilters do make clothes, but
Sure.
um, it's like that's the sort of your machine's going. Well, maybe I can do that. So
I can
do
help
that
you.
for you. But
Yeah.
it's just another shape, isn't it? It's a
Hmm.
sort of circle, or um, and that might be an interesting little project to just add loads of those on something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, this is so funny because I just had a client bring a quilt to me that she's been working on for years, and every block is, applique. And she's like, I did it by machine. I can't do hand applique. I'm like, that's fine. I can't either. I've tried one time and didn't like it, so I stopped. But she's like, there's some really tiny, tiny dots because they're all different flowers.
Yeah.
And there's some really tiny, like really tiny dots on some of the blocks. And she used her buttonhole function to sew around. I was
Ah,
like, you are the smartest woman alive. Like, what?
that's cool.
But that's something
Yeah.
I never would
Yeah.
have thought to do because I'm like, oh, a buttonhole, you sew around the area and then you cut it open. Why
Yeah.
my brain didn't think you can stop, you don't have to cut out the fabric that's
See,
in
I
the
love
middle of
that.
it.
Slightly like lateral thinking to
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of create something new. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So anyway,
wonderful.
I just thought that was such a fun kind of like I feel like when kind of a new concept percolates or like comes to the surface for me, then I start seeing it in different areas without even
Yeah.
trying. And so it was like she brought that to me. And then I saw your piece with the bright orange around the
Uh,
buttonhole. And then I
yeah.
was like, this is so why it's weird how it all starts to kind of percolate to the surface all of a sudden. And so I just thought that was such an interesting like conjoining of this concept all of a sudden now it's in my purview and I'm like I could do so much with that.
Yeah. That'd be like that. When I get time, that's the next thing I'll do. I'll use a buttonhole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So are you like I guess do you shop your stash first before you start trying to create something new or
Yes, always, always. I mean, I'm a good I think 18 months into a no fabric buying at all.
mm,
I
okay.
don't I don't go to thrift shops.
Okay.
I mean, I do occasionally, but trying to just use up what I've got. Um, it would be wrong of me to say that I've succeeded in doing that, but I have tried very hard, and I've reduced a lot of it.
Mhm,
So usually when I start a thing, there's sort of two ways I'll do it. Sometimes I'll just get out bits of fabrics and start just chucking them around and seeing
mhm,
what pops and what gives me a story. And there's
mhm,
other times where I have a specific kind of concept or a story I want to tell, so I'll try and fit the fabrics around that. Um, and a sort of a new, um, what would you call it? Like a new sort of rule for me
mhm,
is that I have to use what I've got.
mhm,
So I've done that a few times recently, and I've done lots of in the last year. I've done a lot of sampling, a lot of much smaller quilts, mini quilts, and that's like one of my Aurifil ones that I just was working
yeah.
on. So just using up scraps that I've got and trying to make something that is um, appealing to
Mhm,
me, and it's fun to use them up. But at the same time, I also do a lot of work in my sort of sketchbooks and little doodles and keep notes of what I want to do and sort of ideas and
mhm,
things that occur to you at 1 a.m. and you're like, I better just write that down so it doesn't keep me awake.
yeah.
Um, and I've been going through stuff with the idea, with the notion to make bigger quilts from it. And so for some of them, I've been looking on like auction sites and eBay and such for specific um, like branded things or things with graphics
Mm,
on that I'm thinking about. So it sort of works in two or three ways,
okay.
depending on the project.
Okay.
Um, but usually I like to, again, without wanting to sound terribly woo-woo, but I let the fabrics tell me what they want, sort of thing,
Yeah.
and work very intuitively. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's important too when you're
try to.
making art. I mean, sure, some of your pieces could be functional. Sure, sure.
Mm.
But I think there's
One
more
or
of,
two of them are.
yeah, yeah. But that art element is more of like, okay, this is going to be on a wall, or this is going to be featured somewhere where it's going to be, someone's going to walk up to it, upon it,
Mm,
and kind of creating from that perspective versus like, are these colors going to go with my home? Is it going to, look
mm,
cute when I hang it up on my display wall in my living room? Or, is it going to be cozy when I put it on my lap when I'm reading in the evening or whatever? There's just kind of a different focus on it. And so letting the fabrics kind of guide you is, I think, where we can all live a little, especially when we're making things, even if we are making a pattern, following someone's pattern or whatever. It's like, oh, where do these fabrics want to go? What is going to tell the story that I'm trying to tell, even if it's with someone else's guidance? And like I just said, I listen to fabric too. I try to let it tell me what it wants to
yeah.
be, and I think there's so much room to think that there is consciousness in everything. So
Mm.
I kind of let that be a little bit of what
And
guides
also
me.
part of the excitement in a composition for me, particularly as I'm making it, is to do something that is somehow wrong, but it feels right. Like the color is not quite right, or um, as you say, if you're doing some sort of pattern thing, to deliberately like turn something round. Um, like a lot of the old G-span quilts that
Hmm.
are they're I mean, they are, but there's a lot more sort of functionality about them. They had to make them like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
But then there'll be a pattern that's followed in like red and white, and then there'll just be like a black strip because
Yeah.
that's what they had. But
Yeah.
but that's what gives it the excitement. That's what gives you that slight kind of flavor that you go, oh, that's off, or like the squares tipped the wrong way, but I love it. There's something,
Yeah.
and I do that sometimes as I'm laying stuff out, and I'm like, it's all feeling too formal. Like there's too many. There's something that's got to be, um, and that's exciting too. To put it off kilter slightly.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. And because, yeah, it's like you can do the same repeating block over and over. And it's like, okay, you've done that block 50,000 times. Like, it's
yeah.
cool. And, different colors, different reimaginations of it are fun and they're pleasant to look at. But then it's like, yeah, what is going to like cause some dissonance and like
Mm.
disrupt that to make you go, oh, wait, what? Makes you stop and go, hold on. And I think
Yeah, exactly.
that's the goal of, at least in my mind, the goal of making visual art is making somebody stop and go, what?
Yeah,
Because if they don't stop, then what's the point? you know,
yeah.
like if,
They haven't noticed it. You're like,
right.
oh,
If it doesn't like put a noodle, like put a little like tickle in somebody's brain to make them go, hold on, wait, what? It's kind
yeah.
of like, okay, well then it just looks like everything else around it, and it's not standing out. And maybe some people want that and that's fine, but I love the stuff that makes me stop and go, hold on a second, how did they do that? Or what was the point? And then I'm like, I got to read the artist statement because what is going on here? It's like
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm feeling right now. It's it's that dissonance of like, I'm not sure. And then reading the artist statement, or even just like, okay, I need to look at this longer and try to understand it. eh, That's what I want to see. That's what I want to experience when I'm at a quilt show or when I'm in an art gallery, when I'm
Well,
out
exactly.
in a city that has public art. I want it to stop me and make me go, wait, why is that
And
there?
also, if there is room in the situation that they've given you an explanation as well, that's another layer because we bring our own baggage to everything we look at, but then
Right.
you're like, oh, that reminds me of my grandmother, or that reminds me of something, my kids or something. But then when
Yeah.
you read it and it's actually about horse riding or something, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I see that too.
Sure.
And I love those sort of differences of opinions, and that's happened to me
Yeah.
many times where people are like, "Oh, I thought your quilt was this." I'm like,
Yeah.
it can be if that's what you want it
Sure.
to be.
It's
I'm
in the eye of the
cool.
beholder. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I heard it, I don't remember who said it or if I read it somewhere, but I just loved the concept because I think we can hold on to things so tightly and
Mhm.
forget that there's other people in the world that are having their own experiences and have their own
Mhm.
perspectives. And so I think as artists, as creatives, once we put something out into the world and share it with the world, it doesn't belong to just us anymore. And so
No.
it was birthed, came from you, right? With and then you think about, okay, well, look at all the influences that came to be or that I used to make this thing come to life, and now I'm putting it out there to share with people. So it's just like this recursive process of like we're inspired, we make something, we put it out in the world. Maybe it inspires people, they make something, put it out in the world. It's like this
Yes.
fractal kind of like we're never going to be able to find the original idea, and
No.
we'll never see the end of it. And there's going to
Yeah.
be all these different little spin-off iterations that are just, yeah, fractals of the thing that
And
came
sometimes
before.
when folks they're looking at something you've made and they're like, "Oh, I would have done," and they like say something, and very often I'm like, "Oh, damn you, I wish I'd done
Yeah.
that."
Yes.
Yeah, like, for the next
Yeah.
one, I'm doing that.
Yeah, yeah,
These
yeah.
little
You're like,
tips.
here's my new work of this, yeah, that's so funny.
You see who can rush home first and do
Yeah.
it.
It's like it's a race now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's so funny. It
it's
is
so true.
interesting to hear like what people say at like quilt shows or like art galleries. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, where's your piece? Like, what did you make? Because I'm coming from a place of like, oh, actually, I can say it out loud now. Two pieces that I long armed for people got into QuiltCon for
Yay!
2026. So I'm very
Amazing.
excited. So I didn't submit the work myself, but work that I have done is in going to be hanging at
So
QuiltCon.
nice. You can still accept the
Yeah.
part of the joy of it, and yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I got
I've
to
seen lots
celebrate
of
with them and
disappointment.
oh, Gart, go ahead.
No, I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say, I've seen it just today on Instagram. There's a lot of disappointment
I
and
know.
debate about, don't feel bad, and it's funny. I never know. To be honest, I don't really know the sort of the running of QuiltCon, like how
Sure.
the general what the vibe is, but um, there's there's some amazing work that people are showing, and I'm like, who knows? Like they might have just
Right.
had lots of the similar things, so they didn't want lots of blue quilts. I don't know. There's loads
Right.
of reasons.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
Um,
hard too because it's like when you submit thousands or thousands were submitted and only I think said over 2,000 quotes were submitted and about 470 were accepted.
oh wow. Okay.
So when you think about that, like it they can only take so many, which
Mm,
again, and I have this love-hate relationship with quilt shows
mm,
for this very reason because in my opinion everybody's work deserves to hang. Everybody's work
yeah.
deserves to be seen. Um and so yeah, it is sad to see some of the pieces that didn't get in because you're like, really? You
Yeah.
don't know, like they're choosing based on photographs and they're choosing based on, yeah, whatever vibe they're feeling for this year.
That must be difficult to just look at photos as well, because it's
Yeah,
never going to do full justice.
right. And so,
But you have to have a way, I suppose.
yeah. And now, now that people are going to be sending in their submissions or their quilts that got accepted, then the judging will happen in person. But it's still,
Right.
then it's like, then the judging and it's a different slate of judges every time. And you never
Yeah.
know what they're looking for. And they're not always just quilters. And so,
Oh,
it's
really? I didn't know that.
for QuiltCon, yeah.
Oh,
It's
right.
how it has
Okay.
been. I don't know if they've changed it at all, but which I think kind of they look for people who work in different disciplines that are like architecture or different kind of
Um,
art or so
okay.
they're bringing in different eyeballs because I think quilters can be a little biased or
Yes.
be a little like, well, this is what I value in quilting, so this is what I'm looking for. Whereas they can take a person who's not in quilting at all and they can find they have different values in
Yeah, it's like,
design and
just do you like it?
yeah, yeah.
Rather
S-
than the
Yeah,
stitches are not right or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, like the value of that. I think it is frustrating for some people, but um anyway, so uh yeah, I think I love like the here in the States in Oregon, there's the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show in the summer, and
Right.
they have a limit of how many they'll accept, but anybody that submits, they're like, yeah, come hang your quilt, you know. And because they're using the outdoors and the whole town to display the quilts, they can take, you
Oh,
know, a
wow.
lot more.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I've never been able to go because there's always something that happens. It's always the second weekend of July.
Mm.
Second weekend of July? Yeah. And there's always been something happening that I have not been able to go. Either I'm out of town, I'm in, you know, I'm in Europe, or I'm, you know,
Yeah.
this year my oldest son was moving, and that was the
Yeah.
weekend he was leaving. And um anyway, so I do want to get there. It's like a 5-hour drive for me. So I
Cool.
need to just go. But
Yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
anyway,
That sounds amazing. I love that.
yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
idea of yeah,
Yeah. So
having a very democratic sort of process. Mm.
yeah, I kind of like that. So I think, you know, we kind of joke like we need to have a quilt show that's QuiltCon rejects. Like, I'm like, then
Yeah,
that's a
I've
whole
heard that a
other thing.
lot.
And yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it's like, okay, who's got room for 1,500 quilts? Because that's how many didn't get in this year. You know, it's like those
yeah.
logistical things. But anyway, I saw another recent piece of yours. Well, I don't know if it was
Mm.
recent, but it's a graphic t-shirt, and then you've appliqued it onto the quilt, and then the rest of the t-shirt is hanging from the bottom of the edge of the quilt.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. It's got
I was
Batman.
like, yeah, I
Mhm.
I just love that. So I guess like when I see things like that, I'm just like, how did somebody think about that? Like what was it that made you go, oh, I'm gonna just let the rest of the shirt hang versus like finishing that edge and
Oh, I was working on a lot of samples for fun, but I have a class where I teach using elements of clothing, specifically
okay.
shirts, but anything, just to help people to what do you do? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Cutting bits out, not cutting bits out, the whole bit. And I was doing lots of samples to sort of to show, but to also make sure that I was aware of different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And and yeah, I had that T-shirt, and so I was using scraps of fabric of different sizes, and that was a slightly bigger scrap. And I was going to originally just put the T-shirt on it and then cut the edges off and just to see what it looked like. Um, and yeah, I just thought, well, leave it hanging because I would like to do more work where there is a sense of a shape to it. It is a square, usually a
Hmm.
rectangle, whatever, but things are coming off it.
Hmm.
Um, because why does it all need to be contained? Why? Why?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, when I let it hang, again because I needed to, it was doing it flat,
Hmm.
and I think I'd started sewing bits of it, and then I realized, and I put the, did I just pin it? I think I pinned it onto another quilt, but just to
Hmm.
check that it looked nice when it hangs
Yeah.
and it was sort of interesting. And then when I added very loose, a few quilting lines through it,
Yeah.
and it sort of changed it again. But I love it, and I'd love to do something bigger with a few
Yeah.
items on it. So it's there's sort of like an idea of a washing line, and
Hmm.
you're sort of, I don't know, airing dirty linen or something. I love
Yeah.
that idea. But again, just to try something that I haven't done before. I'm sure many other people have tried it, but just to do something that I was unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. It did. It kind of gives the feeling of like, oh, that's somebody's laundry. Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
the
yeah.
t-shirt hanging off the end of the bed because you
Gonna flap
discarded.
in the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, it's hanging out to dry after it's
Actually,
been
that's
washed
because
or
particularly with the blue that I used for it, it
uh-huh.
is it's like an 80s or 90s. I don't know if it's a bed sheet or a curtain, but it's very
Uh-huh.
much like a teenage room
Yeah,
with
yeah.
they've maybe put their clothes. I was going to say, what kind of teenager actually lies their clothes out flat? But anyway, they're just lying them out to pack them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then to use up the Batman thing was off a bed sheet as well that I had,
Hmm.
um, and to obviously play on like the logo on a t-shirt
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
loved it. That's so cool. Yeah. I just love your work. It's not what I don't think I would make, but
mhm,
also I've used a lot of clothing by making
yeah,
memory quilts for people and sewing with
nice.
different kinds of fabrics and materials and being able to kind of conceptualize how I could get a quilt out of a piece of clothing and maximizing the material that I have so that I'm not wasting any of it. Um and I have my mom to thank for that, honestly, because she has worked with so many different types of fabrics and materials over her sewing life, that when that was, we kind of incorporated that in our business a few years ago, she was like, "Yeah, we can do that. That's easy." I'm like, "What? We're cutting up wool sweaters and putting them into quilts and,
Yeah, I love that.
making."
Yeah.
And they're never uniform. They're always kind of improv style, like how much of this can we use and where can we put it? And nothing's ever the same exact size kind of thing. And um so if you ever hear me say I don't do improv quilting, then tell me I'm a liar, because I do. I have to. Anyway, so I just love seeing when other people do other things with different materials, because I think sometimes as quilters we get put in this box of like, you need only this very expensive quilting cotton and that's it. Otherwise your quilt is
Yeah,
garbage. And I'm like, I beg to differ. It's got 3 layers. It's a quilt. It doesn't matter what kind of fabric it's made with.
absolutely. That's what I always think. I mean, it's there's a huge uh world that things can be quilts, but not
Yeah.
quilts. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to do quilts where when obviously I've done ones you can see through because of the holes in some of them, but
Hmm.
where you see bits of the like the batting and all that. I like looking at the
Yeah.
guts of it, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'd love to do more of that.
Yeah. And there's
Um,
like, tulle skirts and netting and things that can be
yeah,
patched in to kind of give a window into what's on the insides. And
yeah.
there's just so much out there, but I love it. I would love to make it to the Festival of Quilts someday. I just keep seeing such amazing things about it, and I've never been to the UK, so
All
I'd love
right.
to.
Oh well,
Yeah.
you
I
have to
want to like
incorporate that into a trip one day.
I need to. Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
track down kind of I mean, it's been since like, the 1700s, but my mom's side of the family is like German, and my her dad's side is Welsh. Like the
Ah,
family
nice.
comes from Wales, and so it's kind of something I've always wanted to explore and dig around. And I know people are like, I'm going to go to Europe and find my heritage, and I'm not like that into it, but I also still want to see it. So
It'd
anyway,
be exciting to know if there was any, not necessarily physical, but like
right.
yeah, to know that oh, your family's from this town or this village, or
Yeah, like this is where
I
they
love all that.
left to come over here. And
Mm.
yeah, it's just kind of interesting. But yeah, like I think my mom's cousin dug back on, which is like my mom's side of the family. Their first ancestor stepped foot in the state, or I mean, way before this United States, but on this continent
Mm.
in like 1722 or so. I mean,
Wow.
early from
Mhm.
Germany. So uh, it's not like there's no recent immigrants in my family, so we've
Right.
been
Yeah,
colonizers
yeah.
our whole lives. No, I'm just kidding. um, anyway, well, how's it been with being an Aurifil artisan and getting to kind of play around with different threads and things? And have you found anything that you
It's
just
been
absolutely
great.
love?
Yeah, I mean, I've had friends that have done the program before, and they say, "Oh, you should do it." And again, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that." Like maybe, um, I historically use lots of different quilts, and I sort of half jokingly have said many times that I'll literally use whatever. Did I say quilt? I meant thread. I don't know if I said thread. Anyway, but I
Yep.
will just use whatever thread comes to hand for
Hmm.
most things. I have
Yeah.
favorites, a little spool that a lot of my threads have been given to me by people that were getting rid of them or something. I had a massive bag from a friend's grandmother, and I,
Oh,
I was using that. And it's always, I love the idea of the history and stuff, blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. So when I signed up for it, I was like, well, I can do these challenges and I can do this. And I was excited to actually educate myself more about thread weights and
Hmm.
kind of what they can be used for and
Yeah.
what they're good for and all that. So I've loved it. And I am really into the Orville 8 weight thread
Mm-hmm.
because it's more or less for me the perfect weight for the quilting that I enjoy. That you can
Hmm.
see it,
Yeah.
but it. is there a technical term? It slides through easily. Is there I don't know.
Yeah.
There's probably a
I don't
technical
know.
term for
Probably.
that.
I
But
don't know.
I just love it. And so I keep telling people, as I say, I've done a few teaching in-person teaching recently,
Hmm.
and I keep banging on about 8x8 thread. And I said, I am sponsored, but I'm not being paid to say this. I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been really thrilling for me. But to also try, like I do a lot of obviously applique for my collages,
Hmm.
to try a lot of finer threads that you can't see, because most of I like to show my stitches. I'm not fussed about it, but
Yeah.
just to try the very fine. Oh,
Hmm.
I've probably got one somewhere here. Um, Threads that just disappear into it.
Yeah.
Has been really fun, and to try the one with the buttonholes in it. It's done with
Yeah.
wool thread that was amazing to use, and it's got a slight
Mm.
featheriness to it because of the
Yeah.
wool. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And just getting sent loads of things, different threads every so often
Yeah.
is really exciting. And
Yeah.
as I say, most of the stuff I use is sort of secondhand, but just to have these like new things, I'm like, just for me. Ah.
Yeah. Ah,
It's
yeah.
been really interesting, and to also have this little other window. We have groups on separate, like private rooms
Yeah.
on social media. To see what other work people are doing is so interesting, and we're all sort of given the same things, but
Sure.
there's such a breadth of work, as we know. Everybody's so different, and it's
Yeah.
not just quilting. People, it's all sewers. Like lots of people doing
Hmm. Yeah.
embroidery, or little bags, or little clothing things, or
Hmm.
a lot of things for Christmas or Halloween and so. Um, a lot of things I wouldn't make, but I just find it so exciting to see into other people's worlds that I might not necessarily see through my own worldview.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a few months still to go of my little year of it. So I'm
Hmm.
just trying to get as much as I can, and actually, again, learn bits of jargon, how to speak to speak to other
Right.
quilters about what size thread have you used. And I'm like, I have no idea. But now I'm like, no, I've used 50 on this one. Like,
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
I'm
I know.
I love it. Hmm.
That is like that was kind of a funny thing that for me when I started quilting is because
Mm,
my mom has always sewn and I've always been around it. I think people that knew me kind of assumed that I knew what certain things were,
mm.
like different techniques or the way what things were called. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, what
Yeah,
is that?
all the time.
And they're like, oh, when you like, I'd maybe made two quilt tops. They're like, well, you can just chain piece it. And I was like, what? They're like chain piece. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yes,
And
it's
they're like, you just keep sew, like you put your pieces together and you just keep sewing. Like you don't stop, cut the thread, start it. I'm like, oh, what? And then of course I'm like, oh, duh.
all the
Um,
time.
yeah, and or like, oh yeah, when I started quilting, what weight thread do you use? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Now I know because I have to know because I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
professional long armor. I've got to know.
I
Um,
love that. I love
eh,
that.
but so it is kind of funny, like just the things that like my friends who were quilting before me just kind of assumed that I knew so much because of
Yeah.
my mom. And I'm like, girl, no, I stayed away from sewing until I was 31 because that's my mom's thing. Like I did yarn, I did
Ah,
crochet, I
okay.
did, I did all this other stuff. And so, yeah, I just was like, I don't know. Like I'm just doing stuff. I don't know. So
Do you ever combine it? Do you ever use your sort of wool skills along with the quilting? Do you
I
ever do?
haven't
I don't
yet,
know.
but I have definitely had ideas for wanting to like crochet a motif and then like
Mm,
attach it to fabric and make that
nice.
into a quilt top or like a piece of clothing. I kind of have like little ideas mulling around in my brain, but I have not done it yet. Um, but I've definitely been thinking about it. So
Yeah, that could be fun.
I think because I think at first I was like, well, they're kind of separate. But then I look at, like a knitted sweater and how it's so I'm like, oh, they didn't, well, this one actually is knit together. It's not just sewn. But a lot of times
Mm,
the seams are sewn on a machine
yes.
or serged, and you're like, well, I could do that. And
Yeah.
so and I think kind of through using sweaters in other people's memory quilts and and that kind of thing has kind of given me the concept that like, no, you can do that. It'll be fine. So there are kind of like I just thought it'd be so fun to crochet a granny square and make that the
Yeah,
center of a medallion type quilt, but then like surround it with quilt,
yeah.
fabric granny squares and um
Or even
quilts.
have some of the bits. Oh, we're
Yeah,
doing a project now.
I love this.
Um,
I love this.
have the granny squares, but then it's you've cut out a square on the quilt, so
Yeah.
it's see through and it's just the
Uh-huh.
knitting,
Yeah.
and they sort
Yeah.
of build a, yeah, I don't know, a
Yeah.
spider's web of these things would be
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of, again, combining things that don't always
Hmm.
sit together, or
Hmm.
even just using woolen quilts.
Yeah.
It's not always hard to sew through, but
Right.
um, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, there's
That's
definitely
that's
ideas.
actually the other thing about that's no, that's a floss, is it? That's a floss. Um, the other thing about doing the Aurifil thing is that I was wanting to. I always have sort of longer term goals that I want to do, and I want to put more sort of stitch and embroidery onto my quilts.
Mm-hmm.
And so having this sort of outlet, or possibly inlet of threads,
Yeah.
is really useful for that. So I'm sort of doing lots of different little. I've got little sampley bits here where I've been doing various
Mm-hmm.
different stitches, and just playing around and having fun, and then
Yeah.
thinking, how is that? How can I? Oh, that's a touch. Um, how can I combine that and do it on a bigger quilt? Like, have I
Right.
got the time and the patience to do a massive embroidery on a large scale quilt, or
Right.
is it just going to be details? And yeah, having the backup of the thread is helping me to fulfill those dreams. So
Right.
yeah.
And to me, when you're given, well, I mean, I was given the fabric to make that Barcelona quilt, but now that I
Mm.
have all the leftovers and the remnants as well, I'm like, oh, I can play. Like this is
Yeah, yeah, do
ridiculous,
something
dire because they've
wacky with
already
it.
been cut into, they've already
Yes.
been used for the main purpose, and the rest is just for me to play around with. There's lots of corner cuts from the flying geese from the pattern, and so there's already some pieces that are cut into shapes, and there's all this different fabric left
Nice.
over that I get to play with. But I think when you haven't spent your own resources on acquiring those things and they're all new to you, they're different weights or different styles or different materials, colors, you can
Mm.
freely explore and say, what do I like? What do I not like? What texture is this creating that I could use? And kind of giving you the freedom to play without feeling the pressure of like, don't waste it, don't waste
Yes.
it. And I love that. I think that's you know inspiration for you, but also for the people who follow you and feel inspired
Yes.
by your work, is seeing how would you use this, because of course other people are going to use it differently, just like you said, quilters might imagine it differently, or clothing artists, makers might imagine it differently, but you know how is how is it going to be reimagined for you, and what texture and new texture, new focus, new, kind of energy is that going to bring to your work that you are already kind of in process with, and there's no fear of like, oh great, I can't get more of that, or like, oh, I can get more of it because I know how to get it now, and or I didn't want to pay
Yeah.
$14 for that spool just to try it and hate it, and
Yeah.
it's there's kind of a freedom in it, which is kind of cool. So I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Exactly.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it just, anything that sparks new ideas,
Yeah.
is really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, the buttonholes, I mean, that was like such a cool idea, and got to use fabric and try it, or thread and try it, and give it something special and fun, and I
Yeah.
mean,
The ones on that were originally going to be. I was going to say I could get it down, but I can't. I'm not doing that.
that's okay.
I was going to do them a lot messier, and I wanted.
Mm,
I try to remember messy in my head when I'm working, because the thing is, even though I started quilting in my own way, in quite a punk way, and sort of a DIY,
yeah.
um, inevitably when you do things for long, you start getting quite good at it,
Hmm.
and so I have to keep reminding myself that I want a bit of that messiness. That I have to
Right.
sometimes. I don't know, like quilting one way, but turn it round so your hand isn't doing what it can do.
Yeah.
Sounds silly, but that's where I'm at. But I wanted to be a lot messier with it, and I ended up. I think the amount of thread, I was coming to the end of a spool, and I was like, I may as well just use it all. So they're all quite tightly,
Mhm.
densely sewn actually in, but which
Yeah.
isn't what I intended. But now, I like it. The orange pops. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it really does. I love it. And I think it's funny because I think you maybe are when you're learning something, you're kind of unintentionally messy because you're just not
Mm,
skilled at it yet. And then you get the skills and it looks nice and neat and you almost kind of build that into your muscle memory.
yes.
And then but then when that's like not what you're going for, it is so funny how you have to think, okay, like let go of the perfection, let go of the clean
Yes.
lines, like just go crazy, like just let it happen. And how hard that can be to fight against sometime. It's like we
Well,
build
because
this.
you think about so many great uh sort of punk bands, punk artists, or
Mhm.
whatever that start off with this quite raw sound, but as they
Yeah,
get better, often their sound becomes a lot more sort of middle of the road.
yeah,
And it's essentially the same thing that I have to sort of remind myself to. You've got to keep that energy about it, that sort of
yeah.
I don't know, weirdness.
To like get in the mirror and be like, I'm punk,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
screw perfection.
Who
I'm
have you
like,
become?
yeah, like fight the power, uh, whatever you have to tell yourself to get in that headspace. Let's just listen to some dirty garage punk
Yeah, yeah,
from the
yeah.
90s to like
Tear
get
up some
into it.
clothes and
Yeah, rip
yeah.
stuff, punch things, I don't know, scream. Yeah. It is a
Mm.
battle. And I think for me especially, like I long arm a quilt for other people and I have made quilts start to finish for other people. So like the perfectionism is a real thing. I've got to. That's my job, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm being
Yes.
paid to do. So if it's less than as perfect as I can get it, then for
Mm.
me, I don't want to send it out the door because it's got my name on it.
Yes, yes. You're not getting paid for that.
And the person definitely is not wanting that unless they're like, make it, nobody's ever asked me for that. But so the idea of like letting go and just making something that can be a mess is like what? I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But I do like the idea of it. And um I have some panels, just fabric panels that I want to quilt and just do some
Mm.
messy long arming just to play. And but it's like, okay, where am I gonna I need to make space for that because I've just been like focused on
Yeah.
perfect long arming every time, perfect edge to edge pantograph, like repeating designs. And sometimes people hire me to do some custom things, but it's like they want something very specific and clean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh, I'm like itching to get messy. And the one
Mm.
area I guess that I've been able to kind of be a little messy is my friend Erin started a project of she's been documenting mass shootings in the US and she started with
Right.
2024 and I long armed the first panel and we collaborated, we talked about what was going to be quilted on it, how it was going to be done. And at first I was like, you know it's a white background with navy blue and red tallies to indicate injuries and
Mm.
deaths. And
Unfortunately, it's going to be quite a big quilt.
just for
Unfortunately.
2024 it's
Mm.
4 panels.
Oh God.
The first panel was a twin size quilt from
Right.
January to April. The May to June, so just 2 months, was bigger than the first quilt. Um,
Yeah.
and so anyway, we've come up with phrases that will be quilted, have were quilted across it. And so the first one was, um, is this what freedom feels like?
Yeah.
And I started trying to be very precise, very nice, like uniform size writing but I could feel my energy amping up and myself wanting to get messy with
More
it.
annoyed about it. Yeah.
Scribble
But
like
that's lovely.
it's
Yeah.
a journal page, right? Like
Mm.
is this what I was getting mad and I came away from teaching because I cannot even conceptualize the fact that I would have to be a human shield for 8-year-olds if
Right.
someone decided to come in my building and be gross. And like
Yeah.
I did that for 8 years and it was just such a toll on my mental health that like not doing it, I didn't even realize how heavy it was on me until I stopped
Yeah.
having to do it.
Always
um
at the back of your mind that could be a
yes,
thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Totally.
And so anyways, so then I was like, I'm feeling these feelings. I like really want to kind of just get messy with it. Like I'm scribbling on my journal page, like how I would write for myself. She's like, yeah, absolutely. That's what I want this to be, to kind of be the echoes of like someone journaling these frustrations over these tally marks of tracking these deaths and these injuries, and like, yeah, let it rip. So then again, going into the second pedal, I knew I had that freedom, so it was a lot easier to like really get into it and just like leave my
Yeah.
mark on it. And um that has felt really good. So I think that that's where I'm kind of like, oh, I want to lean into that more, because I feel like
Yeah.
that's where I can focus some of that frustration and energy into something that's going to be meaningful. And
Yes. Well, it's literally transferring that energy to try to
yeah,
represent the
yeah,
terrible, yeah, the
yeah.
truth.
So anyway, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, trying to let go of that, like the perfect lines and the perfect,
Mm,
symmetry and
mm,
everything the same size and da da. It's just, it can be really hard in the space I have to be in most of the time.
yeah.
So anyway, I love when I see work like yours that feels so free and so like open and truly improv, like, oh, this actually feels better here. Whatever the process you went through and were able to communicate with your work, it feels freeing to also be able to
Yeah.
consume it and look at it and participate in witnessing it. So I appreciate the work that you do, and I
Nice to hear.
appreciate
Thank you.
the experience that you're letting us all have with your work. And I'm just so excited for what you've got coming up and seeing more of your work. And um, yeah, I mean, hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person and I'll get to see your work in
I
person.
hope so. Yeah,
But
let me
until then,
know.
I'll get to admire
Yeah.
online. But well, before we wrap up for the day, what tip or piece of advice would you have to offer to the listeners?
Well, I mean, I think we've sort of said it all really, but what I've been noticing, as I said, with people I've been meeting at classes, um, I'm always surprised at people that are, uh, what I do is so obvious to me, but I'm always surprised when people are like, oh, but I can't do that. I can't make it messy, or I can't do things slightly wonky, or it's just not.
Mhm,
So I would just say, in that spirit, just try something, even if you're sitting down and taking a very like smallish thing and just messing about. Those things can progress into little artworks on their own, but just to enjoy it and to um not always stay in your lane. It's
mhm,
okay to just uh I tried things that, particularly during lockdown, I did a lot of block making initially, and I realized I'm not going to be the sort of person that matches points and stuff. um so I just think I would just say, it's not a very specific tip, but just to try something, particularly if
yeah,
you think it might excite. If there's a little seed inside you that thinks, "Oh, I'd love to try that," well, just
mhm,
just do it, and do it on a miniature level, so it's like low stakes.
mhm,
You don't have to have a grand plan to do a big quilt, but um, yeah, just have a go.
yeah,
That would be my. It's a very general life kind of tip, but
sure,
I'm realizing now that a lot of people I meet um, have blocks, in that sense, that they have a struggle to just allow themselves freedom
right,
to try things and to mess things up, possibly. So
yeah.
that's what I would say to people.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And it is important, because I think, again, speaking of coming from, that place of needing perfection, it can be really hard to let go of that concept.
Yeah.
And the idea that, if you mess up at your job, if you mess up at home, if you mess up with your kids or your spouse, like it, there's consequences. And so it's
Yeah.
hard to not feel that when you're dealing with fabric and thread as well. Like there's consequence. Not
Yeah.
really. I mean, maybe you don't like it, or maybe that fabric is now unusable, or maybe you can just repurpose it as something else. You don't know,
But
but
also, in the realm of what I move in, with all these sort of upcycled and recycled things, again, it's low stakes, because
yeah.
if you've cut a bit off a shirt to try something new on, at the end of the day, if you completely mess it up, and maybe it is going to head towards the trash. But that's okay. It's not like you're doing bulk, tons and tons of stuff. Just try
Right.
things, and
Yeah.
maybe, I keep a lot of sketchbooks and stuff, and I've learned to not trash things that I don't like, because keep them as a reminder. Maybe there is something you like about it, or
Yeah.
maybe you're just keeping it so you don't go there again. Do you know what I mean? There's
Right.
always
Yeah.
room to change your mind about things.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I think, as I say, try low stakes, just
Yeah.
exploring something else. But also, if you're in a situation, as you mentioned, like family and kids and stuff, with our lives and with our sewing work, when other people are seeing it,
Hmm.
there's also that challenge of people going, "Oh, that's not right," or "Why are you doing that? That's weird," or
Yeah.
"Oh, that's not very you." And you're like, well, maybe you're just, you're like trying a new fragrance or something. It's like something that you're just, hey, back off a minute. I'm just trying something.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's nice for people to try.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. If we don't change and grow, it's like, again, like we were talking about before, it's like when people are genuinely putting themselves out there, even if it's new to them or to what based on against what you've already been putting out there, it's kind of like if it's still coming genuinely from you and something that you want to do, it's ultimately going to end up with your voice no matter what. So
yeah,
just because it takes other
yeah,
people time to adjust to that doesn't mean that you have to stop doing the exploration and trying new things.
exactly. Trying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
totally.
like I tried it and I didn't like it, now I'm moving on. Or I tried it and I liked this aspect and I'm going to keep that and keep trying new things.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. And Lord knows us quilters have orphan blocks is what we call them, lying
Oh,
around
yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, well, what is it doing now? Sitting there? Okay, great. Do something with it. I mean, I've
Yes.
turned some of
I
mine
did a
into.
piece.
Oh, go ahead. So I'm
So
gonna
I
stop
was
you
going to
first.
say, I did a piece, I don't know, a couple of years ago now, but where I had a lot of just orphan blocks and bits, and I put
Mhm.
it all onto one quilt, and I ended up, it morphed into something else. But I put the photo on Instagram of what I was working, because I love to show my work
Yeah.
as it progresses, not just the finished pieces.
Yeah.
Um, and somebody who I don't think I knew them, but was like, "Oh, mixing, a star block with this and that. I think even for you, that's a push." I was like, "Oh,
Excuse you.
okay." I love that even for you, like you do mad stuff, but not sure about that.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
That's all right.
It
Yeah.
just made me laugh that I was like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but I'm doing it."
Thanks, I guess. Yeah. Eh, and I think that can be a hard thing about sharing online too. It's just like being prepared for somebody to be like, what are you
Yeah,
doing? And you're like, I'm showing you that I'm trying something new. Like, what do you want from me? It's like, this is my page. I'm doing what I want to do. If you want to come boss me around, then get
yes,
out of here because that's not how this works. No. And I'm sure I don't think, most people have bad intentions or intend for their comment to be taken a certain way, but it is funny
really.
when people like have an opinion and you're like, I didn't ask you for that. So,
Yeah, I mean, occasionally I think the comments like that, it's good to sort of brush your bubble a bit, to sort of keep you humble in a way.
Yeah,
But also, it's the internet, like nothing's real. It's
I know.
all, you know.
Right.
Um, but generally speaking, I mean, I'm glad to say, I don't know how you find this, but I think most people in the quilting world are generally excited for other people's
Yeah,
things. So,
of course. Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah.
So it has few and far between is
Hmm.
negative.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think too, when you don't kind of engage with it or don't cater to that kind of
Yeah.
behavior within your space, it tends to not find its way to you because it's like, oh,
Yes, I
either
agree.
the people that make up your followership aren't that way and they know that. And so they're not that way, or the ones that do find their way to you, they kind of get pushed out by the people who are like, no, 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 we don't do that here. It's like
Yes,
you almost still have to do
yes,
it yourself, which is kind of
and
nice.
hooray for those people.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Yeah.
being a shield for me because I don't have the energy to deal
Yes.
with negativity. I just usually block and delete because I can't handle it.
Yeah.
it's too hard. I'm already put myself out there so much, and I already like have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to like be okay with my voice and my face being out there all the time. But
I know what you mean.
yeah.
Yes,
So
I know what you mean.
so then when, my loyal followership kind of handles those things for me occasionally, it's like, oh, thank you so
Nice.
much. I appreciate you. For that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
um, well, thank you so much for joining me today and for taking the time to be on the show and talk about
Pleasure.
your work. And I've just had such a great time chatting with you.
It's been nice getting to know you a bit.
Yeah, yeah, you too. I know it's always like funny when you go from like just being a lurker to being like, oh, we're gonna actually talk to each other. That transition is always just so fun because then it's like I I always feel like I have more of a personal stake in like what's going on with that person as far as just like um caring more, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
and not that I
yeah.
didn't care before because I obviously cared. I followed and I been admiring, but it's just like, oh, I know that person now. So I feel like more connected
Yes.
to it. So
Things make
anyway,
sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But well, thanks again and we'll be in touch.